The Socialist Republic of Klanndestan is located in Central Asia, bordering Kazakhstan, China, Afghanistan, and Turkmenistan. Klanndestan is a landlocked country composed of 4 regions: Jianmak, Krikekum, Rimpar, and Burtistan. The entirely mountainous east of the country, dominated by the Zarafshan Range, gives way to mostly flat to rolling sandy desert with dunes in the west. Flat, intensely irrigated river valleys along the course of the Amu Darya and Sri Darya rivers dominate the center. 90% of the eastern half of the country is 1,000 meters above sea level, with an average elevation of 2,750 meters, with many tall peaks, glaciers, and high-altitude lakes. The northern region of Klanndestan is temperate, while the southern region is subtropical. The former Klanndestan Soviet Socialist Republic declared itself an independent nation in 1991 with the fall of the USSR. Nutella Kalishnikov, the popular former general who controlled the region's military forces prior to independence, quickly assumed command of the new country in 1991 and was elected as president in general elections held 8 weeks later. From 1991, President Kalishnikov maintained a strict rule over the country, despite the pledge of being a democratically elected leader. As such, many people outside of Klanndestan saw the elections as being something of a sham. Kalashnikov was personally a strong supporter of socialism and ensured the new country of Klanndestan continued in this direction, though molding it and the government to his own taste. In April of 1996, an earthquake with a magnitude of 5.0 struck in the Burtistan region of Klanndestan. The government responded with very limited assistance and aid that was mainly targeted towards the Klandi ethnic majority group. Triggered by such actions on the part of the government, discontent arose among the Urudi people, and the Urudi national movement took up arms to claim its independence. Sporadic attacks against local government buildings, army bases, and police stations took place, targeting many high-profile Klandi individuals. These attacks were mainly concentrated in the Burtistan region, but slowly spread to the major cities in Klanndestan. To counter the armed Urudi insurgency, which expanded between late 1998 and 2000, the government of Klanndestan reacted harshly. It is estimated that the government of Klanndestan forcibly relocated some 100,000, mainly female and elderly persons of Urudi origin, from the eastern border of Klanddestan to the central region between 2001 and 2003. Various sources indicate that during this period the government widely employed brutal force against the Urudi ethnic group. During the forced relocation, various acts of armed resistance were organized by the Urudi National Movement and its militant branch, the Urudi National Army. Beginning in 2004, after the major relocations were concluded, the government of Klanndestan directed significant additional resources to combating the UNA. This was a source of grave concern for many human rights organizations, and some reports claim as many as 5,000 young men were executed by the government armed forces. However, eventually the armed struggle of the UNA was put on hold. In 2004, President Kalishnikov stepped down due to ill health and died just 4 months later. Since his death, Klanndestan has been relatively stable politically, maintaining its one-party democratic elections. In the absence of an opposition party, much of the politics is personality-driven, though mainly played among the powerful elite. The public are largely uninvolved in politics or government, following their leaders' directions and decisions with minimal visible discontent. What little dissent that does occur is usually swiftly dealt with by the government in the interests of national unity and security. The main exception to this is the independent Uridistan political movement. While not officially a legal political party, IU's existence is tolerated as preferable to the previous armed resistance. The IU does, however, complain of frequent government discrimination and interference in their operations. Tensions surfaced in 2016 following the larger earthquake measuring 7.9 on the Richter scale that struck the Rimpar region. While the government believed that it had successfully dealt with the earthquake response, minority groups claimed they had received lower levels of government assistance. Throughout the year, the IU became more active, although almost all activity was nonviolent, taking the form of protest marches and rallies both in Klanndestan and the capital. Over the last years, Klanndestan has been gradually liberalizing many of its economic policies and currently adopts an approach of socialism in a market economy. Engagement with the international community, including UN agencies and NGOs, has gradually increased. While slow and bureaucratic, the government generally welcomes international assistance provided it can maintain the control it deems necessary. The current head of state is President Vestorik Mashara. Re-elected to a second 6-year term in August 2017, President Mashara also serves as head of the Communist Party of Klanndestan, the only legal political party. The government of Klanndestan is typically bureaucratic and divided into a multitude of ministries and departments with poor communication and coordination between. Ministries tend to be mini-dictatorships, with the minister being all-powerful. Klanddestan's disaster management structures are largely a reflection of the natural hazards they traditionally face. There is a basic division between response systems for water-related natural hazards and earthquakes. The Klanndestan economy is grounded in its mining industries of gold, copper, and uranium. The country has significant untapped reserves of oil and gas. The largest corporations involved in Klanddestan's energy sector are the China National Petroleum Corporation, Petronas, the Korea National Oil Corporation, Gazprom, Lukoil, and Uzbeknefgas. Agriculture is the second largest industry. While official unemployment is very low, underemployment, especially in rural areas, is estimated to be at least 20%. Still, at cotton harvest time, all students and teachers are mobilized as unpaid labor to help in the fields. Klanndestan, and in particular the eastern part, is one of the most seismically active regions. In 2016, the central Rimpar region was struck by a magnitude 7.9 earthquake, which affected all of the countries in the region. 28,000 persons perished in the earthquake, another 97,000 were injured. In the days following the earthquake, people were left wandering in the streets and sleeping in open spaces. Many were afraid to enter their homes or any kind of building, as powerful and frequent aftershocks were felt for days. The government of Klanndestan requested international assistance, and the humanitarian community responded, providing the population with much-needed support. Coordination mechanisms such as UNDAC and the cluster system were activated in support of the government response. Following the earthquake, the humanitarian country team have had regular preparedness and recovery meetings and programs in collaboration with the government of Klanndestan. Relations are good, even if the recovery is slow, and the international organization's presence has vastly reduced after the response phase. Klanndestan is a country at risk of various natural and man-made hazards. In spring this year, large amounts of snowmelt caused rivers to burst their banks as well as mountain lakes to overflow. There is an extensive system of canals in Klanndestan, many built in the 18th century, that span the river regions. Massive expansion of this system in recent years to irrigate cotton fields has caused ecological damage and impacted river flows in several areas, which contributes to flash floods and mudslides. This year again, Klanndestan is affected by flooding after unseasonably heavy rains dumped more than twice the normal monthly rainfall in only 10 days. Strong winds and floodwaters damaged houses, classrooms, health centers, and markets. Several areas of the province of Rimpar are flooded, with many roads impassable. Flash floods in the mountains also destroyed buildings and took lives. Bridges have been destroyed, and in some places the electricity supply is cut off. With more rains forecast, the situation looks set to deteriorate.